Today, let's begin by capturing an image in your mind's eye. I ask you to think about a time that you looked through a kaleidoscope. Close your eyes, take a breath, and settle into your seats for a moment. Think about the colors that you see. Think about the images and the changing images. Think about how you are responsible for changing those images. Are you moving quickly, or are you taking the time to linger and notice? You can open your eyes now. Kaleidoscopes are often thought about as a tool for childhood. You may have found one along your road trip on vacation. You may have picked one up at a yard sale, or someone special may have gifted you a kaleidoscope at some point in your life. Beyond a toy for childhood, kaleidoscopes can serve as a tool for mindfulness. They allow us to pause, focus, refocus, and in many cases, they allow us to enjoy a moment. For today, kaleidoscopes will serve as a metaphor for us, for those of us who are seeking to work in community spaces and in community partnerships as a caring and an engaged professional. We may choose to engage or partner in schools, in clinics, in hospitals, and nonprofits, or a variety of other public spaces. Regardless of where you choose to engage or where you choose to partner, the metaphor of a kaleidoscope may bring us some very important qualities to consider. As caring and engaged professionals, we must notice, we must reflect, we must focus and look, we must be willing to relook, and we also must be willing to change. Kaleidoscopes by nature are reflective. Now, some of you might like to tinker and build, and perhaps you've taken apart a kaleidoscope at some point in your life. But for the rest of us here, I'll let you know what's inside of a kaleidoscope, or inside of the tube. Inside of the tube, there are 3 mirrors, and those mirrors come together to form a triangular prism. It is the triangular prism that allows us to reflect on the images in the end cap, or the items in the end cap. As a caring and engaged professional, it is critical that we center reflective practices in our work. We must center reflection on self and on attitudes, on settings and on spaces in which we work, and the systems that we work within and those that we recreate. As we reflect, we must be radical, critical, and growth-producing in the ways that we are considering our bias, our intention, our passion, our purpose, and our action. As a caring and engaged professional, we must also be willing to reflect from multiple angles and in different ways. Our reflection must be both objective and affective in nature. We need to consider our processes, our learning, and our actions as we work within systems and spaces. In the end, as a caring and engaged professional, we must commit to building habits of a reflective practitioner. Now let's focus or look at one of the pieces of the kaleidoscope, this eyepiece at the end. The eyepiece is what allows us to see. It is the part of the kaleidoscope that allows us to focus. As a caring and engaged professional, we focus on our passion and our purpose. Now for some of us that may mean that we're working with others to create and co-create accessible and inclusive spaces. For others that may be developing assistive and alternative technologies. Regardless of the way or where you want to work, it is critical that you focus on your passion and your purpose. Your passion and your purpose is the work of your heart. The work of your heart lets you know what you want to say yes to, and in fact, what it is okay to let go of. As a caring and engaged professional, we often spread ourselves far too thin. We work from our heart. We commit to the things and all of the things that matter to us. And the reality is we burn out, and in many cases we burn out with the very best of intentions. So as a caring and engaged professional, we must focus and find our passion and purpose. We must find the ways we want to challenge our energy and our good, and channel our superpowers as we lean into different local and global spaces. Now I'd like to focus on the other end of the kaleidoscope, this noisy part here. This is the part where the reflection happens, where the bits and pieces do their work. It is the space where the work happens. That space is an important metaphor for us, because the items in here, whether they be glass, beads, or other small toys, are eclectic, they're diverse, and really they're interesting. That is what we see the reflection of. As a caring and engaged professional, we must recognize and celebrate the diversity of the items and the people that we work with. We must recognize that each of those people and places brings something to our work. And we must lift the pieces and the people so they're illuminated and capable of working to their fullest potential. We must also be willing to push ourselves. We must be willing to push ourselves to live and learn and work with others from different lived experiences, from different paths of professional preparation, and we must remain curious about those who live, learn, and work with different values, goals, and beliefs than we may bring ourselves. The end cap brings us another metaphor, and that metaphor is of interconnection. It is the bits and pieces in the way that they do their work, the interconnected nature of those items, that in fact makes every image and every reflection we see out of the kaleidoscope interesting, beautiful, and in fact very unique. As a caring and engaged professional, we must coordinate our shared goals, our shared outcomes, and our shared purpose. By coordinating with others, we are able to work towards our common good. Together, we can achieve more. So as we think about the interconnection of people within places and spaces, and we think about ourselves in that work, we must be careful to not center our own agenda or our own perspectives. We must not go into our work with a preconceived outcome that we believe is the most important. As we do our work, we must remain curious, committed, and reflective towards the common goal, the origins of our work, as well as the implications that that work may bring us. We must recognize that together, we can achieve more. Now, the interconnected images in the kaleidoscope happen and change just because of small shifts, small ways of looking in different ways. And that may be ideal and perhaps a metaphor for the way we work in community spaces. But the reality is, when we work with others, when we work in community, and when we partner, that change happens slowly at times. It may take years and many, many years of shifting, focusing, and refocusing for us to achieve our common goal. So as a caring and engaged professional, we must challenge ourselves to work with those that complement us, as well as those that challenge us, inspire us, and teach us as we work and commit in collective and authentic ways. So far we've talked about several of the structures of the kaleidoscope, but I'd like to take a couple of moments just to think about the functioning of the kaleidoscope. So when we started, I asked you to capture an image in your mind's eye, and I asked you to think about the colors. Now, if I asked you to think about the colors as you looked into a dim or a dark space, the reality is the image would have been muted and perhaps less discernible. If I asked you to think about looking at that same image in a lighter and a brighter space, perhaps maybe even pointing the kaleidoscope towards a window, the image would have been more illuminated. We may have seen more colors. And the reality is it may have been even more beautiful than we thought of in the first case. The functioning of the kaleidoscope brings us an important metaphor as a caring and engaged professional. It reminds us that environments, the environments that we create, and the environments that we work within matter. As caring and engaged professionals, we must commit to collaborating, working within, and creating and co-creating spaces that are connected, coordinated, responsive, and engaging. We know as caring and engaged professionals that we cannot work within spaces that are not growth producing, not equitable, and not inclusive. It is those spaces that we will not find our greatest passion and our greatest potential. Beyond thinking about the environments, the functioning of the kaleidoscope gives us the metaphor of change. As a caring and engaged professional, we must be willing to change. We must be able to shift in response to the ways that we are working and those that we are working within. We must be willing to change our ways of thinking, our ways of seeing, and our ways of listening and learning. It is that shifting over time that will allow for growth, both personally and professionally. And as we are thinking about change, we must be willing to, again, reflect, but we also must be willing to ask, partner, and learn so that we can, in fact, grow and advance our programs, our practices, our systems, and the spaces we work within. That is particularly critical, as we know many of the spaces that we work within are often marginalizing and damaging to many within them. In the end, kaleidoscopes are reflective, focused, diverse, interconnected, capable of change, and in fact, context-dependent. They are also playful and a tool for mindfulness. The kaleidoscope itself may give us all an important metaphor for the ways of working and partnering within community settings. As someone who seeks to be a caring and engaged professional, it's critical that we center reflection, that we remain reflective. We must focus on our passions and our purpose. We must know what we want to say yes to and what it is in fact okay to say no to. We must recognize the beauty of the diversity and their interconnected nature of our world and the way we work. We must be willing to take actions to change. And in the end, we must take the time to play and to wonder. Thank you.